Bonjour, bonsoir, dear friends, and welcome to JCB Live. This is so exciting to have a happy hour with an incredible artist. Tonight, we're going to be with one of the most creative artists as a African American artist. She's a world-renowned visual artist. She's an award-winning author. She created one of the first amazing and incredible Kwanzaa stamp in 1997, which was distributed over 318 million letters. Can you imagine? She created another one a few years later. She's on the cover of many children's books and over 75 different books published in the United States. She's an award-winning painter. She's been a living artist for over 50 years. She's absolutely incredible. She's created major campaign for the big corporation that you know, from Seagram's historically to Coca-Cola, you name it. I'm very excited to welcome the famous, the charming, the very talented Synthia St. James. Synthia, welcome to the live. Woohoo!
Hello.
Well, Synthia, welcome. And we are very honored to have such a charismatic and phenomenal author that you are an artist. So cheers to your amazing career.
Thank you. Thank you.
So Synthia, we need to ask you first a question. What is the place of wine in your creativity?
The place is all over the place. The place of wine is all over the place. What it does is it's a relaxing stimulant. It helps me get to those creative juices, literally, and just let things flow.
Ooh,
yes.
So well said. And yes. I know we have a common friend, Dr. Nat, who introduced
yes.
us. So as we start this amazing happy hour, let's have a toast for Dr. Nat as well, who's been incredible to put us together. So cheers, Dr. Nat.
Thank you, Natalie.
And she's a great collector of your beautiful art, correct?
Yes, yes.
So, Synthia, tell us a little bit about how it started for you, because you're a bi-coastal lady, New York, LA, and since the age of 20, you started to live from your art. That's pretty incredible.
Well, it was very incredible for me. I'll put it like this. At 5 years old in New York, a little girl living in the Bronx, knew that I wanted to be an artist when I grew up. And I didn't feel like the rest of the kids, more like playful about it. It felt like a very serious career choice that I made at that young age. Ironically, through life, I've never taken art. I'm completely self-taught. I haven't had any training in art. So I think of it as a gift from the creator. And I also think of it as a responsibility to use it and to use it well.
Well, yeah. Absolutely. And I think it's a mission that the creator gave you, is to really inspire us through this amazing multicultural feel and vision that you have. So describe it to us and tell us more about it, because this has been such a signature of yours, and we can obviously find your art as well in major stores across the United States. So tell us about all that.
Well, let me back up just a little bit. When I sold my first painting in New York, I was working as an accounts receivable clerk for a mortgage insurance company. And one of the lawyers commissioned me to do a painting for his apartment. And when I brought it into the office, he immediately commissioned another, and my coworkers started commissioning work for me. So that's how I became professional.
So before we continue, two sides of the brain work very well, the left side
yes.
and the right side.
Yes. So my first collector was Daniel Fishman, and a lawyer, a closing lawyer in mortgage insurance business. Yeah. And it just, I couldn't even believe it. Sometimes even when I think of it now, I can't believe of that start. So for many years, I've done everything from working in the record business, publicity and promotion. For some years in the 70s, I did some acting. My big claim to fame was I had a national McDonald's ad and I was the spokesperson. Then I learned how to do accounting by computer when that first software first started back in, I don't even know what year, 1980. Yeah. So there was always these other things that I learned how to do that could back me up. But I never stopped painting. I continued to paint throughout my whole life. Even when I had jobs, I would just get up extremely early in the morning and paint before I went to work.
That's amazing. And how, as we talk about multicultural arts, how did you find your style? How did it start that you felt that was what you wanted to be known for?
Well, I'm actually, I have so many mixtures. I think the one that makes most people smile is that my father's mother was Cherokee and German Jew. Okay, that's quite a combination.
That's right.
And
that's
my
like fine wine, what a blend.
Right. And my mother's father was Haitian. So I have all of these different mixtures. So I have Native American on both sides. I have Haitian. I have a German descent, German Jew, and other things I don't even know. So I've always been drawn to the cultures of the world, all cultures.
For sure.
Yeah, that's why I pretty much say to people I'm a multicultural artist, and I create, primarily cultures of the world.
And we could see that behind you because those are your creations, right?
Yeah, there's a few of my paintings behind. One is I just recently finished on Diwali, which is an East Indian celebration of, Festival of Lights.
Yes.
There's a piece behind me on Tibetan monks.
Yes.
And there's another piece that's actually a Haitian piece, of just a crowd singing after mass.
I see that.
Yeah, yeah.
And were you always drawn to put different cultures and religion and colors of people within the same painting interacting?
That gradually happened because as being a self-taught artist, I learned how to paint people realistically. And I got pointers from another self-taught artist to paint eyes so that they were looking at you no matter where you were. So I learned how to do that.
That's interesting.
Yeah. The Indian side and some of the things I used to do, a reservation near upstate New York. There was always wanting to do a series on Black Indians and Indians of all different tribes. I've done all over the Caribbean pieces. I think one of the things that I particularly, one of the many things I love doing, because I also love dance, is Brigitte Matusi had a dance company in Geneva, Switzerland. So when I met her many years ago, she actually had me create a painting that was plastered as posters all over Geneva. And, and that was a very multicultural piece too. So I believe around 1980s, 85 is when I blended and was putting all cultures, a lot of them into the same painting.
And what was the reaction of people and how did it go at that time? Because it's, when we think about it, it's almost 35, 37 years ago.
Yeah. It's the style has become a signature. Most people tell me they recognize my paintings immediately.
For sure.
From the brightness of the colors and from the people and learning. My challenge to myself was how to paint people where you felt how they felt by looking at them by their body language.
That's it.
Or their cultures and their age by maybe how they were standing or the togetherness. I really love sending that message out to the world of unity.
Well, it was very, very echoed by the stamp you created. So,
yes.
I mean, as I said, 318 million stamps produced. It's amazing. It's probably one of the arts that have been seen by the most.
Yeah, and you know, too, what was really amazing about that, too, is the stamp was used as a 32, 33, 34, and 37-cent stamp before it was retired. So
That's incredible.
could you imagine if I had gotten a royalty on that instead of a flat fee?
That would have been exciting. But tell us about the themes that was around that stamp, because it's a very unique African
Oh,
American celebration post Christmas,
yeah.
right?
Yeah, and relatively a recent holiday when you think of holidays in the world. Kwanzaa is a celebration of principles to live by, community sense. My favorite principle is self-determination. You know,
Yes.
so it's a very strong teaching uh, tool for children and adults. I mean, one of the principles is creativity. So it celebrates a lot of important things in life, as well as building up people, their strengths. So yes, that year, the U.S. Postal Service put out 3 stamps. It was the first Hanukkah, the first Cinco de Mayo, and the first Kwanzaa stamp. So that was really a revolutionary year.
Well, and it really represents what we believe on, and I want to raise my glass to that is creativity, faith, as we all need to have, as well as you said so well, unity, which is
Yes,
very important. So, really, congratulations for that. I mean,
yes.
380 million stamps produced with your artwork. It's insane.
It is insane.
So, Cynthia, you cannot escape but describing this wine in creative, faithful unity
Oh,
terms, as you know.
well, it's luscious. It's luscious.
Thank you.
Yes, that's what it is.
I love that. So,
Yes.
Cynthia, what impressed me as well very much, if we go back to your painting, we all very interested in that. It's one thing to create, it's one thing to paint, but it's another as well to succeed to promote them and to be successful at selling them. You are obviously present in the major stores of the United States. So tell us, how did that come about and who represents your art around the country?
Okay. Um, that came about from a licensing deal. One of the things that has helped me through my life is licensing my art. So that, like you mentioned before, there's over 75 book covers. I have pieces used in clothing and merchandise and on and on and on. So it keeps, one painting can keep feeding an artist, is what I explain in my workshops for artists and master classes, that holding onto your copyright, you know, all the many things that you can do from that is incredible. But I actually I learned about publicity and promotion working in the record business. Learned about publishing, which is also like licensing, which helped. And then, of course, in accounting and doing the books right. So for the majority of my career, I represent myself.
That's amazing.
Yeah.
So those arts, we can find them in, if I understand correctly, Target, JCB,
Uh-huh.
many other stores, like which others?
Well, like in, let me see, World Market, Cost Plus World Market.
Of course.
Uh, I believe there's some pieces now in TJ Maxx. In Canada, it's in Home Sense. And that comes from a deal that I signed with East Coast Graphics. They found my work online and came to me and asked if I would be interested in them promoting my art to go into retail stores. And I worked with them on the royalty a little bit, had to change the royalty up a little bit. And we came to a wonderful deal. And they've been on it. They even have me as their featured artist on fineartcanvas.com because they have an e-commerce as well.
Right.
So yeah, so they've been working hard, and it's only been since the end of August.
That's
So they've
amazing.
done
So,
this much in that time.
well, so you're opening our eyes on this. So, as I'm going to serve a wine, as you have it as well from an artist, our good friend John
Yes,
Legend, you know,
yes.
Well, I'm sure you listen to when you paint.
Oh,
I'm sure.
sure. And a lot of times I do listen to music and his music, and it helps to take you somewhere else. Wow, and relax.
Absolutely.
Yes,
And we
yes,
love John, and I say hello because he's probably, and we'll make sure he watches your episodes because he lives as well in LA and really represents what you do, which is faith, unity, creativity, encouraging diversity, and bringing
yes.
people together. So let's have
And
a taste of your favorite
I
Chardonnay.
will be drinking his bottle later.
That's right.
I have it chilling,
I
you
know
know.
you don't want to drink 3 bottles of wine by
I,
yourself, just 2 today.
no, no.
So
Yes.
tell us about how, I think it's a great topic about how do you succeed to promote your art? Because the challenge always, and I design, jewelry and fragrance and
Mhm.
glasses, and I love doing what you're doing, but the challenge always is how do you market it? How do you promote it? And get the two sides of the brain to function, one to
Yeah.
create and the
Yes.
other. How
Well,
do you do?
what I do is when I'm on my left side of the brain, I'm taking care of Cynthia St. James, right side of the brain. I'm like my own little, so, and I also worked with lawyers, so I also know that a lot about law and copyright and contracts. So I pull on all the things that I worked at before, and I use it to handle myself. For a while I had an East Coast rep and a West Coast rep, and I found that when I let both of them go in 1990, everything just started coming.
Hmm.
Yeah, because I was able to, I can't do everything, but people feel a better personal sense when you can actually talk to people.
That's
Mm,
right.
yeah.
So, as John would say about his wine, it's obviously a melody in the glass and it's music to your body and vibration to your brains and an inspiration as well, which is really what we tried to create together with this amazing Chardonnay. Tell us to you, what is the importance of art in the world today? And
Oh, yes. That's a very major subject. What I learned, let me preempt it with this. Many years ago, I learned from a friend of mine who was also a collector that my art had a healing property.
yes,
So part of what I do, I've gone out and done workshops on the healing art of Cynthia St. James. But my art is in a lot of hospitals and medical centers. Done original work for a couple of hospitals, and it
hmm,
continues. And everyone that I may have never met before, if they know that it's me, they'll come to me and tell me how healing it was for them to sit in that room waiting in a wait room to go to see the doctor or loved one, and that the art was there.
what a compliment.
Yeah,
It's
and
amazing.
my friend had a little baby, a little grandson who had Down syndrome, and she told me that if he was in the room where my art was the only time he didn't cry when he was a baby.
That's
So,
fantastic.
so that told me something. During this period in time since March, I have actually created 14 paintings on healers, orishas, shamans, and deities.
Hmm.
Uh,
Show us.
that's what I've been doing towards healing.
Oh, can you go a little higher,
Yes.
Cynthia? Just like,
Is that good?
wow.
Yeah. So there's 12 of the healers and deities in here, and they're from all cultures. Again, from all cultures. Things I didn't even know about. I didn't even realize there was a female Buddha.
Hmm.
So she's in here too. Tara's in there. And I felt like if I could do that, that it was very healing for me and hopefully uplifting for others as well, as I shared the work and as many people have purchased limited edition pieces, one of the originals sold. They're feeling that same power too.
Congratulations.
Yeah, and the other thing that came to me, not I didn't think of it, but one of the companies I work with, Fine Art America Pixels.com, they have a lot of my art that I choose on merchandise. So anything from shower curtains, duvets, to what really sold I have over 100 painting designs on face masks.
Really?
Yeah. And when I first saw that opportunity, I felt a little funny because I didn't want to profit off of misery. And I
Yes,
had to really think about it. And I said, well, this is going to make people feel uplifted because they'll be wearing bright masks.
that's right.
And when I realized that, then yeah, then there's over 100 paintings on face mask.
Well, and you are so in within society today, so to speak,
Mhm.
because the dilemma and the issues we're facing, the racial issues, the
Yes.
injustice we're facing, has never been more important to treat and finally attempt to solve. So, how much do you think of that and in the composition of the art as you create the canvas?
Well, you know what? I always let it just come from inside. If it was a commission piece, because
Yes,
I've done a lot for colleges and universities, commission paintings. Uh,
yes.
yeah, but and for organizations. But if it's something just from me, I try to let flow what I'm feeling and what I feel the message is that's calming and soothing rather to incite anger.
Hmm.
I always want to do the opposite of that, something that quells it and it takes people to another place and it's more physically healthy and spiritually and mentally healthy to be in that other place.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Absolutely. And as you, from a technique standpoint, do you sketch on the canvas first or highlight with a pencil and then paint, or you go directly with the
You know,
colors and
I
paint?
love that question because I wouldn't say the majority, but I would say perhaps the majority of artists may hand sketch on paper and decide what they're going to paint. I take a non-photo blue pencil and I hit the canvas.
I see.
And I'll do a little section at a time because I don't know what the next thing is going to be. And I don't want to plan it all out. And I also want to rush and get to the color. I want to put some color on it. So there's anywhere from, on the acrylic paint, there's
Mhm.
anywhere from 7 to 10 coats of that color on each. That's why it's so bright.
Wow.
I put
I
that many
see.
coats. Yeah.
So you keep coming back on it within the
Yes.
same tone or the same blend of colors
Yes.
7 to 10
Same color.
times.
Yes. Uh-huh.
That's amazing. So, how would you like your art to be remembered?
Oh, how I would like, what legacy? I would love for it to inspire people, period, but
Yeah.
especially people with creative talents that are not, a lot of times we're looked to the side, well, that's not how you make money, and da 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 da. I want them to look at it as an inspiration, and yes, they can do it,
Hmm.
and listen to that inner spirit, that inner voice, that passion.
Do you believe what Picasso was always saying that we all born as an artist? If you succeed to instill and turn the inner flame that triggers us, speaking our art, either through voice or through painting or drawings or whatever. Is it
Well,
your thought too?
you know what? I would say yes to that, meaning that everyone, no matter if they think they're not creative, we all have creativity in us because we wouldn't be sane without it.
That's right.
Yeah. It's just like when you think of what they do for people that are having problems or depression or whatever, they try to get them to sit down and draw or paint, and that therapy, art therapy. And then if it's not the actual painting, it may be dance therapy, it might be music therapy, but it's all creativity.
Hmm.
Yeah.
Within this, you mentioned your painting are creating a lot of healing. Um, what kind of healing ultimately are they meant to create? And I know I'm going deep, maybe into.
No, 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 no. You know what? When you think of that, because I haven't quite thought of that exactly, the healing, once we're soothed, there's all kind of physical ailments that evaporate. So, you know, there are some physical ailments that can very much be cured with soothing.
That's right.
And feeling a calmness. So without thinking before, prior to you asking that, yeah, it's any possible thing it could cure. If it could just put a smile on someone's face or make them feel light. Or there was a young man here today picking up a painting to be shipped to someone who purchased the painting. And he hadn't been, I've never met him before, but he hadn't been painting lately. And when he came in, and the difference between when he came in and when he left after seeing some of the art, he was inspired. He said, "You don't know what you did for me." You know, so it's just, you never know. You never know. And then little children are drawn to the work too, because it's bright and they want to go touch it and be in it.
Well,
Yeah.
and maybe you want to tell us as well, one of your incredible skill is children's books.
Oh,
So why don't you share that with us?
okay. Well, are you familiar? I know most of the audience is familiar with Terry Mcmillan's book, Waiting to Exhale.
Of
Okay.
course.
Well, that was I had my art on other authors' work before, but with Terry, it ended up being licensed through me in Japan, England. I mean, it's like amazing. 6 other countries came to me to use that same cover. So that made the art international, you know, helped to create an international audience. But one of the publishers, well, actually that worked with Penguin, said, "Have you ever thought about doing children's books?" Because they like the color. I thought about writing them, but I've never thought about actually creating paintings. And I said yes, because I'm in for challenges. And I learned by doing. And I had to put a stop to it because first year I didn't know there's like 18 to sometimes 30 paintings in a children's picture book. And first year I did 3. I was like crazy. Yeah, but it's such a treat when you run into people who grew up with your books. You know, it ages you and you go like, "Oh, my mother or my grandmother," you know, but it means so much that they're still vibrantly alive and they're still children enjoying them.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And so what is your view on how we ought to educate our children into falling deeper into the world of art? What is your recommendation as a great artist who discovered yourself, as you said, you were 5 years old,
Yes.
drawn to the colors, and so please.
Well, there's 2 things. I don't want to forget to mention this. As a young teenager, about 14-ish or whatever, a movie that most people would think would not inspire an artist inspired me to get back on it was Moulin Rouge with Jose Ferrer.
Oh, one of my favorite movies.
That's my timeless favorite movie.
I love it.
And what it did for me, I said, well, within my lifetime, I'm going to live from my art. Okay. I'm going to live past 30. Okay. And I'm not going to become a total dipsomaniac. So that's what the Moulin Rouge.
Your objectives. I love it.
And that's what the Moulin Rouge did for me. And it's still my favorite film. The first thing I wanted to ask people is to listen to the children. Don't try to point them in all these other directions. Let them be who they came here to be, and be kind in saying, have a backup, have something else that you can do to make money, but pursue that dream.
Absolutely.
We should listen more to children.
And do you guide them to use special techniques? So you do really recommend, as much as adult, to let them be and just unfold?
Let them be. Don't direct them towards anything. Just let them be. I once did about a 2-3 hour workshop with children, autistic children.
Yes.
And I can't remember the name of the organization, but they had this long, giant canvas. It must have been about 12 feet long or so, and about 4 or 5 feet high. And they brought them all to the beach, and it was up there, and I was the artist. And at first they were timid and they didn't want to touch. By the end, they got so into it that a couple of the girls were taking their brush and going like, and they were just, and it just released them.
That's right.
You know, and then right there by the water, which is one of my favorite places. And then they had a picnic. And then they framed that piece and they put it into in that center. Yeah. So this let them go.
Let
Yeah.
them go. Well,
Yeah.
talking about let them go, you mentioned your art is in hospital, but it's as well very present within the embassy world, within
Oh,
the
yes.
national relation world. So
Oh, wow. You know what? You know what's really kind of funny about me? I occasionally have to Google myself and then I find out what's going on. So when I recently Googled myself and added that to the bio, I didn't know about all those places. I didn't know there was in that many places. And there's more since then. And a lot of the ambassadors have been in touch with me directly and have purchased directly. But the Art and Embassies program, I recommend to any artist to submit themselves to this chance to be seen in other countries. You know, it's just, it's, the ambassadors can go to this site and look at art and say, I would love to have this in the embassy. It's more like a lending.
yes.
Sometimes they actually purchase, but to be exhibited in so many places in the world. And like I said, I can't even name all the places that my art.
But this is exciting because your art has a true communication piece to it, as a
Mhm.
mission to communicate, of course, that wonderful unity that you bring so well on the painting, that is so vibrant, so actual, and so important to reinforce that as all time. We are one world, right?
Yes, yes.
On that note, we even believe animals should be part of our planet and part of your painting too, and embraced. So this is our baby Frenchie, Synthia. We want to make sure that you embrace our little dog as well. I was very lucky to fall in love with French bulldogs, and I
Okay.
often went to my wife who took him as a son, and now we have
Okay.
daughters and French bulldogs. So we could not help it to make a winery for him. And I know Dr. Nat, it's one of her favorite wine as well. It's a collage of another great artist. So maybe
Wow.
someday we do a series of art with you and French bulldogs, because we have a true winery here at Raymond Vineyards in Napa Valley, where I am right now, where
Uh-huh.
we actually welcome dogs to be part of the winery.
But you know what? You know what? One of the reasons I just fell in love with that bottle were the animals. When I was exhibited in Paris, I was painting wild and domestic animals.
Oh,
Yes. So I went through a period where I was painting wild and domestic animals, and even Disney wanted me to come in and possibly become one of their animators.
oh,
And so I love animals. I mean, I still do. I've painted some pieces recently, not too much, but just for fun for myself.
yes.
You know, so I was very drawn to that bottle. And I'm sorry. Go ahead.
Well, I was just going to say cheers to that, because
Oh
we love
yeah, look at that.
animals. Look at that depth and color.
That's what I'm
So,
talking about. Look at that color and body.
you know how to use words so well, because that's the next thing you need to tell
Mm,
us. Describe
mm.
this.
No, this is very good. I love this. Okay, I'm already hooked. No,
Give
this is
us a
good.
few words to describe this wine.
Hearty,
Ooh,
hearty yet mellow. Yes.
I've never heard that description, and I adopt it now. I will use
Okay.
it. Okay.
Yes. I just made it up. That's what it feels like to me. Hearty yet mellow.
Well, thank you. This is a beautiful way to say it. So, Cynthia, not only you paint, but you write as well. So, tell us the calling of both and how you succeed into having both of them come out of you in such a beautiful way?
I have well, I try to, if you try to put it into like, what is the thing that you must do, is paint. I must paint, you know, and I have inspirations, and I've written a lot. I've written a lot of poetry. I've co-written a couple of songs. I would love to write with someone that could create from my poetry and lyrics and create music. I would love that. That's one thing that I would like to venture out and do, but it has to come right. It hasn't, the right person hasn't shown or evolved or whatever. But yeah, it's a must to paint, and then I'll get the pull to write. I'm slowly writing a novel, but I'm going like, well, at least I have over 11,000 words. That's not too bad.
That's a great start.
It's not bad at all. And my character right now, because I was thinking back of the time, my first time in Paris and in France, uh, has just had a sensational show in Paris, where that
Oh,
most of her work has sold. And she's doing a lot of the things that I did when I was there, like going to the Moulin Rouge. And right now they're in the Moulin Rouge. So I'm creating that and going back to what was that like in 1980, so I could do it more accurately. But the
yes.
can always stands out for me.
I love it. The Toulouse-Lautrec style,
Yes,
you know?
yes. And all those posters when you're walking in,
Yes.
so I'm at that part. So she is a painter. So I get to use some of the things of how I felt. And one of the things that I did when I was that first time, I went up to Epernay so I could go into the wineries, and I went to Moet and I saw how champagne was made, and
Of
how
course.
Dijon mustard comes from the residue, and all of these things that I would never forget. And then I went all the way down to Arles so I could walk around, you know, the other guy, Van Gogh's footsteps. And I did a lot of things like that. My favorite were the French Impressionists. So I
Yeah,
had to
sure.
create my own tour. Yeah.
Well, and you created your own style. So how do you advise to all our friends with us tonight to discover their passion? How can they discover that? Because you discovered it very early on, and you were very fortunate in that this calling came from 5 years old to
Yes.
20 years old. You were selling your art. So
I count my blessings. Recently someone did ask me about that. And I suggested that they go back and think about what they loved when they were little.
hmm,
What were the things that they loved to do? What were the things that they kind of wanted and made them excited?
ah,
Uh, and too many people wait till they retire to go back to something they've always wanted to do. But I think most people know. And I think if they get to that quiet space and listen, how about this? Good bottle of wine. Sit down, have a nice little meal, and sip on some wine, and just think and relax, and let it come to you.
that's a great advice.
Mhm.
So, what inspires you at this stage? Because you've been inspired throughout, as you said, for half a century, been
Yes.
living through your own creation, which is pretty amazing. So, what
Well,
inspires you now?
everything, everything. For instance, it could be a song,
Hmm.
and there's a painting from that song. It could be a film, like when I saw the film on Edith Piaf, I created
Yes.
this painting on her, from seeing a film. It could be a walk on the beach and just seeing some of the birds and the animals, or smelling the sea.
Hmm.
So I'm like a sponge.
Yeah, being
Literally.
awake is what you say. Being awake, aware, and enlightened, and letting the outside world sink into you,
Yes, and
allowing that to happen, right?
Yeah, and for me, what works best is that I'm up very early in the morning and I get that walk in real early, like pre-dawn or barely dawn.
Really?
And yes, and I have my own like affirmations that I've created, and prayers are place to go, and also places that release me because I'm taking the stuff off of me through what I'm doing. And then when I get back home, I mean, I saw this beautiful sunrise this morning. I mean,
Hmm.
I've took photographs. I'll save it. It might show up in a painting, you know. So it's
So
those,
everything inspires you. This is amazing.
yeah,
And I guess we need to all be allowing more things to come in, be
yes,
more open arms and say, come in, radiate inside, and allow me to create through what I'm receiving.
yes, yes. Cut off some things. Don't listen to the news for a while. That's a great thing. Just don't listen to the news because primarily it's bad news. And go, you know what I also do? I sleep by the sound of the ocean.
Yes.
And
Well,
when
that's
I,
very
yeah,
fortunate.
and when I, even when I travel, I take my little machine with me. I'm in the hotel. I'm sleeping to waves.
Mm.
Yeah.
Well, talking about dreams, what is your dream?
Well, I'm smiling because I thought about this. And the first thing that came to mind, in all honesty, ever since probably I would say the 70s, I've always wanted to design a wine bottle.
Oh,
Yes. That is one of, I
yeah.
remember that I've
Let's
always
do
wanted,
it.
I always did. And even remember when they were doing the absolute bottles with the
Of
artists,
course.
I
I know.
missed out on that opportunity, but I've always wanted to design a wine bottle because that's what I drink. That's what I love. So that's one of my, what do you call that? Those things. That's definitely on my bucket list. Number one on my bucket list.
Wow. I'm excited because, the outside needs to speak for the inside.
Yes.
As John Legend was saying with the LVE Chardonnay, or Frenchie would say,
Uh-huh.
the red wine we're trying. So it would be interesting to think about a 360 artistic piece that is maybe etched on the glass or fired screen on it, and all your beautiful art could be all around. So wherever we look from, we could see it.
That's a dream. Gives me chills.
Well, I think, we should somehow toast to
Let me
this and
get my
commit that
hearty
we'll figure
mellow.
out a way to do it, right?
Okay, I think so. I would love that.
So now you are an award winner of so many, from all kinds of awards you've received.
Mhm.
And you become very wise as time comes. So, what would be your final tonight major advice, suggestions? We're still in the month of January, to all our people listening who have aspiration to become who they're meant to be.
You know what? It's simple. Just do it. Listen to your heart and just do it. Tomorrow's not promised. That's a definite. My mom used to say, when we were little, Curtis Mayfield had a song out that was "Keep on Pushing." Was the name of the song, "Keep on Pushing," and that was a song that meant that whatever you're doing, stay at it, keep doing it. And that was her little thing that she used to like to say. Yeah,
That's
but
a great advice. And it
yeah,
eventually comes, and it
you got
eventually happens.
yeah. If you just let it in, don't think of all the reasons why you can't. Think of all the reasons why you will.
That's
Yeah.
very well said. Well, Cynthia St. James, I love your last name. As you know, it's a few of the best places in France. The St. James Club or the St. James Hotel.
Oh, yes, yes.
So next time you come to the Moulin Rouge in Paris, I would love to welcome you, and we'll go to the St. James Private Club. It will be a
Oh,
lot.
yes, I would love that.
So,
I might,
Cynthia,
who knows, I might be one of the owners.
exactly, exactly. And we'll pretend that for sure. If
Yeah,
it's
let's
not the
pretend
case,
that.
and maybe the owner of one of the wall because your painting will be there.
Yes, yes, right.
Well, Cynthia, thank you so much, and we thank Dr. Tora as well for introducing us. I'm so honored. I feel so privileged that I got to spend personally some time with you, and for all our friends to get to know you. Many of them who collect stamps probably have your art in their collection, as well as your painting that we've seen in so many great places, your true inspiration. And for all the children who have those great books, get
Oh,
at it.
yes.
And as you said, let's do it.
Just
So,
do it. Just do it. And thank
and
you so much.
to the wine bottle, maybe we're going to be doing.
Oh, merci beaucoup.
C'est un plaisir. Great to see you. Great to meet you, Cynthia. And we cannot wait. Maybe one day we should do another part 2 of the show where you paint in front of us.
Oh, I'm available.
Let's do it.
Okay.
Cheers.
Okay. Thank you. A bientôt.